Welcome everyone to the digital meeting of Cabinet held via Microsoft Teams Wednesday the 10th of November. As you will be aware, this meeting will be recorded and made available to view on the Council's website. Thank you everyone and welcome this morning everyone. I'm going to start by calling a minute's silence. So members, you will be aware of the tragic events that happened in Penrail where Jack Lease lost his life. Clearly our thoughts of everyone in the Council are with Jack's family and friends at this time. Members and officers, please may we observe a minute's silence in Jack's memory. Thank you. Thank you everyone, thank you for that. I think we've received some apologies and I think they've been noted in the chat. If anyone has any others, can you please say? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go on to declarations of interest now then. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on the agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Does anyone have anything to declare? Magic silence is no. Thank you very much, everyone. And just to put things in order in terms of the agenda, I want to notify you that we're pulling item 11. So item 11 on the agenda is no longer an agenda item. So thank you, and that can be noted. So we're going to go now to approve and sign the following meeting minutes from the Cabinet held on 27th of October 2021. I'll go through these in relation to accuracy. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, and page 5. Does anyone have anything to comment on those? If not, can I have a mover and seconder for those, please?
Move. Second.
Thank you. And if I can have a show of hands then to approve those, please. Thank you very much, Cabinet. And obviously move to item number 4, which is to note the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. That's been detailed in the agenda and in the pack. So can I have a show of hands to approve those, if you're all happy and content? Thank you ever so much, Cabinet. Thank you very much. Okay, we can move to agenda item number 5 now, and that's to receive and consider the following report on the Commercial Investment Strategy 12-month progress update. If I can hand over to Councillor Stenner, please.
Thank you, Leader. The report sets out the progress made to date in relation to the Commercial and Investment Strategy, which we adopted at the end of 2020. Great progress has been made in some key areas, despite the challenging circumstances and pressures being faced across the Council, inevitably affecting progress. Highlights include detailed business planning with our tourism and destination venues, offering up the potential of significant reductions in the subsidy for this service. The launch of the Licence to Innovate scheme with staff to bring forward ideas for commercialisation or profit with a purpose and a more business-like approach to innovating services. The rollout of training to colleagues in infrastructure, tourism and a commercial leadership course planned for senior managers in spring 2020. The report also provides a high-level summary on the general power of competence available to councils in Wales shortly. The Transformation Manager for Commercial and Investment has agreed to host members' workshops on this topic if members feel that would be useful. The strategy was due a refresh in December this year. However, given the ongoing pressures being felt across the authority, we are extending the deadline for refresh to December 2022. Work will continue to further commercialisation and investment over 2022. The revised strategy will build on the initial strategy with more ambitious targets and goals and will be drafted alongside colleagues from across the authority, incorporating feedback and aspirations at the time. The revised strategy will be brought through the scrutiny and cabinet process towards the end of 2022. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 and 3.2 of the report. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. And if I can go to Councillor George, please.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'm more than happy to second the report.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, now the debate is in order. Do any officers have anything further to add in terms of the report?
No, thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Sue. Okay, thank you again, and it's great to see the the update in terms of the progress being made on this. So thank you for bringing this today, and I think it's tantamount to the great work that everyone has been involved in. In light of everything that's been going on in the background. So I just want to put on record my thanks, for the refresh in terms of the strategy. So thank you. Are we happy to accept the recommendations? And if there's no other questions, shall we go to the vote, please? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you everyone for that. If I can go to the next item on the agenda, which is to receive the homeless project plan. If I can bring in Councillor Cook, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. The report in front of you is to inform Cabinet of the homeless project plan for 2021-2022 for the Housing Solutions team, and it outlines the key service objectives and priorities to take the service forward post-COVID-19 pandemic. The Housing Solutions team has historically been working to deliver the service in accordance with the Housing Wales Act 2015 and the Gwent Homelessness Strategy 2018-2022, which have put prevention at the forefront of its delivery in tackling homelessness. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the service shifted to a crisis-led model in order to meet the increasing demand in homelessness assistance, with presentations and placements into emergency accommodation ensuring that everyone has a safe place to stay in line with the Welsh Government directive of everyone in. The Homelessness Project Plan, which was presented to joint scrutiny on October 21st, now outlines its objectives to refocus on prevention of homelessness and sets out the key areas for service delivery, which include tackling rough sleeping, realigning prevention pathways, maximising move on via Caerphilly Quays, review emergency accommodation provision, and going forward will include setting out in the 2022 the rapid rehousing strategy, which will take the service forward the next 5 years. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Cook. If I can go to Councillor Whitcomb, please.
Thank you, Leader. I'm more than happy to second the recommendations of Leader 3.1. This is an extremely well-written report, and I'd like to compliment the officers on the construction of the report. And I therefore move. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whitcomb. Could I bring in Kerry? Kerry, would you like to add anything further to the report?
Thank you, Leader. In respect of the report, it's an interim report, as Councillor Cook has outlined today. It was drafted just for us to be able to refocus our key objectives in light of the post-COVID-19 pandemic and for us to move forward in terms of the prevention agenda that has been picked up by Welsh Government at this time. And we'll be bringing two further reports forward in 2022, one being the Welsh Government lease scheme proposal, so that we can consider as a local authority how we wish to deliver our discharge of statutory duty into the private rented sector. And as Councillor Cook has outlined, there'll be a further report coming through scrutiny in Cabinet in the summer 2022, which will be our rapid rehousing strategy and a plan to take forward the service for 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Kerry. Really helpful. And and as you know, we all had a joint scrutiny meeting, and I know the Cabinet attended as observers on that meeting. And it was great to see the engagement within that meeting and how positive this approach has been taken on board. So I want to say again, on record, thanks for all the hard work that's gone into this, because I think this is a turning point for our approach in terms of dealing with the very tragic issue of homelessness in our borough. So thank you for that. Do I have any comments or questions for officers or members? That's no. Okay, and as as I've just alluded to, this had a good airing at the Joint Scrutiny Committee, and I think it was very well received cross-party. So thank you for that. So without further ado, we'll go to the vote on that one then, please. Thank you. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Okay, if we can move to item number 7 on the agenda, it's the Public Spaces Protection Order, dog control on sports pitches. And if I can bring in Councillor George, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of the report is to update Cabinet members on a 10-week public consultation regarding the proposed amendments to the Public Space Protection Orders, that's PSPOs, to include the exclusion of dogs from marked sports pitches, and also to seek Cabinet's approval for the proposed Public Space Protection Order to include the exclusion of dogs from all marked sports pitches. In summary, Public Space Protection Orders were introduced by the Anti-Social Behaviour Crime and Policing Act in 2014 and can be used to regulate activities in particular public spaces to ensure that the law-abiding majority can use and enjoy public spaces safe from antisocial behaviour. As such, these orders provide an opportunity to enhance the Council's enforcement ability to respond to public opinion regarding dog fouling. The existing public space protections include the restrictions of excluding dogs from all enclosed children's play and multi-games use areas, requires dogs to be kept on a lead in enclosed memorial gardens, requires dog owners to remove feces in public spaces, and require dog owners to carry an appropriate receptacle for dealing with the waste that their dog produces. Finally, requiring dog owners to put their dogs on a lead when directed to do so by an authorised officer on any public land. At its meeting on the 22nd of July 2020, Cabinet received a report presenting a review of the current position regarding dog fouling. Since the implementation of the original 2017 order, Cabinet resolved to undertake a 10-week public consultation exercise on the proposal to amend public space protection orders to include a provision to exclude dogs from marked sports play pitches. In view of the impacts of the pandemic, this was postponed until it became possible to carry out a meaningful consultation with the public and relevant stakeholders. On the 11th of June 2021, a full public consultation took place. This took place over a 10-week period. The consultation was carried out using an online questionnaire. 85% of the respondents to the survey agreed with keeping the current restrictions within the PSPO. 53.5% of the respondents agreed with the proposals of banning dogs from marked sports pitches, while 43.8% disagreed. Having regarded the requirements of the Act and the responses to the consultation, it was considered that the conditions required to retain the existing provision of the public space protection orders and the additional exclusion of dogs from marked sports pitches. The consultation outcomes and the proposed orders was considered by the Environmental Scrutiny Committee on its meeting on the 26th of October 2021, and the views and comments of the Scrutiny Committee are detailed in the consultation section 10 of the report below. If we move on to the recommendations, The views and comments of the Environmental and Sustainability Scrutiny Committee to Cabinet to be noted and detailed in the consultation, again in section 10 below, which can be summarised as members of the Environmental and Sustainability Committee felt that this 6-month prohibition didn't go far enough and dogs should be permanently excluded from all marked sports pitches. Therefore, taking members' views into account, I recommend that Cabinet approve the draft Public Space Protection Order to include the permanent exclusion of dogs from marked sports pitches. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor George. If I can go to Councillor Gordon, please.
Thank you, Leader. Dog fouling is unsightly, unpleasant, and can lead to serious illness, and in some cases potentially lead to blindness. Particular concern is therefore raised in relation to children and other sports pitch users coming into contact with dog feces. It is accepted that the majority of dog owners are responsible and clean up after their dogs. However, there continues to be growing concern across Borough in relation to dog fouling, especially in relation to dog fouling on sports pitches. So with our Leader, I'm more than happy with the extra recommendation to second the recommendations.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Gordon. Thank you. Councillor Pritchard, did you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, in regards to this, I mean, there's obviously a long history of this going through the scrutiny committees and to Cabinet, as Councillor George has highlighted, going back as far as 2014. And as a local ward member, I was certainly lobbied a number of times regarding this issue, both for and against. Having looked at the proposal and unmarked sports pitches, I believe this does strike a right balance. As Councillor Gordon has indicated, the majority of dog owners are responsible, look after their dogs, and wouldn't dream of letting their dogs run wild on a marked sports pitch. There are, however, a small minority who do that, and in terms of the actual areas considered, if I can speak just briefly as a local ward member, in terms of Morgan Jones Park, there's only a very small area in which there's a marked pitch. Again, I think this strikes a right balance. Dogs need their exercise. It's not about a whole-scale banning of dogs anywhere on any green spaces. If it was so, I'd certainly have problems with supporting this, but it isn't. It's clearly defined, it's clearly marked out within the report. So as I said, I think this strikes the right balance, and I'm happy to support the recommendations. Thank you, Leader.
Thanks ever so much, Councillor Pritchard. And again, I think it's clear, isn't it? The reasons for recommendation are to protect public health and well-being. And I think, again, as being alluded here, this sets the right balance in terms of that protection of those public spaces. So thank you. Councillor Gordon, did you want to come back in?
I don't know if you want to fetch officer in first, Leader, but I just want some clarity on enforcement on signage.
Excellent. Yeah, no problem. Is Rob on the call? Can Rob Hartshorn come in, please? Or Gary?
Yes, yeah, hi, Leader. Yeah, I am joined by Gary Mumford. Gary is a senior environmental health officer, has been central to putting these proposals together, and as you can see from the pack, it's a considerable piece of work. Just a comment, Leader, on the recommendation reflecting scrutiny committee's views that this ban on marked sports pitches should extend throughout the year. From my perspective, I don't have any difficulty with that. As has been outlined, we have incrementally increased, I suppose, our controls around dogs in public open spaces. This was another additional measure reflecting the outcome of the public consultation, and I don't have any difficulty with the additional recommendation. I'll be happy to answer Councillor Gordon's question in due course in relation to enforcement. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Gary, did you want to make any further comment?
Not really. I think this is not so much about the enforcement, but I think the whole message, educating people, dog owners, that we don't to stop dogs going on pitches in the first place where children and adults play sports, etc. Not solely about the enforcement, but getting the message through. So we're not in the enforcement situation ultimately, but the tools are there. Enforcement tools are available to find people that break the rules, really.
Okay, so I think Councillor Gordon alluded to signage, etc. So will there be a rollout of signage at these key points, on all our marked sport pitches across the county borough then, to remind people of their duty? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm planning on, obviously they'll be put up in conspicuous places in each parks really. I think the plan is, like neighbouring authority, Rhondda, RCT do the same, but I'm thinking of a sign at the main entrances to each park with showing the pitches that are affected in each park.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there are, some of the pitches won't have anything to put signs up by the pitches because they might just be painted out or marked on the floor. So I think if we cover the main entrances, and obviously we'll have social media and comms, whatever, getting the message through in the meantime as well.
Great, thanks, Gary. Rob, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, Gary's just picked up on the point that I wanted to highlight. Is obviously we'll do some appropriate communications in the following whatever decision Cabinet make this morning, but obviously in the lead up to actually commencing the order and before we take any enforcement actions. So our community should be well aware of what the requirements are. Thanks.
Great, thank you for that. Councillor Gordon, are you satisfied with those responses?
My concern is when we took over parking enforcement, I mean, we've all had complaints, I'm sure, of our residents about cars parking on double yellow lines and in areas. Like I said, that's my concern about the enforcement. Signage, I think we need to put signage in areas where people are definitely going to see. Other than that, we are going to have issues and we are going to have problems. But like I said, the last comment I make on it, I mean, about having a 12-month ban. Don't forget, I mean, a lot of children use these pitches in the 6-week summer holidays. They play on them all the time. So, I mean, I am more than happy for us to go for a 12-month ban. I think it's long overdue, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, thanks so much, Councillor Gordon. I think it's right. I mean, the comms is really important on this in terms of spreading the word, in terms of what can and can't be done. I think that's important. We need to work with our communities, don't we, in order to educate them as to the safety and the whole purpose of this, again, is to protect public health and well-being, and I think that's what we need to, roll out in terms of our message. So thank you for that. I can't see any other indications to come in. So if we can go to the vote, please. Thanks, Mardia. That's unanimous. Thank you ever so much, everyone. And thanks, Gary and Rob, for your contributions there. And the next item is public spaces protection orders, antisocial behaviour and drinking and alcohol in public place. And if I can hand back over to Councillor George, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of the report is to update the Cabinet on the outcome of a public consultation regarding the exclusion and proposed amendments to the existing PSPOs for antisocial behaviour and drinking alcohol in public places, and also to seek Cabinet's approval for a rare variation of some existing PSPOs areas to include antisocial behaviour restrictions, and on the introduction of a number of new areas within the PSPOs. They can be seen in appendices 3 to 5. In summary, public space protection orders, as I've said earlier, were introduced by the Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014 and are used by local authorities to deal with antisocial behaviour problems in a geographical area by imposing conditions on the use of an area. The aim of public space protection orders is to ensure that the law-abiding majority can use and enjoy public spaces free from antisocial behaviour. At a meeting on the 22nd of June 2021, Environmental and Sustainability Scrutiny Committee endorsed a proposed public space protection consultation and on proposed extensions to the amendment of the existing PSPOs for antisocial behaviour and drinking alcohol in public places. A public consultation was launched on the 23rd of July for a period of 6 weeks. The report provides details on the outcome of the consultation and proposed draft PSPOs for approval. The consultation outcome and proposed orders was considered by the Environmental and Scrutiny Committee at its meeting on the 26th of October 2021, and the views and comments of the Scrutiny Committee are detailed in the consultation section 10 of this report. If we move on to the recommendations of the view and comments of the Environmental and Sustainability Scrutiny Committee to Cabinet be noted as the details in the consultation section 10 of this report. And finally, the Cabinet approves the draft PSPOs relating to antisocial behaviour and drinking alcohol in public spaces attached at appendices 3 to 5. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor George. If I can go to Councillor Gordon, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm happy to second the recommendations laid out at 3.1 and 3.2.
Okay, thank you both. I don't know whether, Rob, you wanted to come in and add anything further to this report?
No, nothing further. Thank you, Leader. Okay,
thank you very much for that. Okay, yeah, obviously this is just by way of an update, is it not? You know, and to approve the different areas of inclusion on this. So, do we have any other comments on that from anyone? That's a no. So, okay, if we can go to the vote then, please, on this. Thank you, everyone. That's unanimous. Thanks ever so much for your time, Rob. Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the town centre management groups. And if I can go to Councillor Stenner, please. Sorry, Councillor Stenner. Sorry.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of the report is to seek the approval of Cabinet for a trial of a revised format for the town centre management group meetings. It is hoped that this trial will encourage business and other stakeholders' attendance and involvement in the future development of our towns. The report shows that the number of active Chamber of Trade and retail groups has reduced since 2012. It has been acknowledged that there has not been an appropriate level of business representation and engagement via the Town Centre Management Group. It is imperative that we support our businesses, especially post-COVID recovery. The proposed changes to the format and operation of the meetings should encourage increased businesses and other stakeholders' attendance and engagement at the meetings. During 2018 and 2019, the Business Enterprise Renewal Team held successful business networking events. These events were breakfast evening events that focused on information sharing and network opportunities. By holding events outside of the working day, business owners and representatives are more likely to attend at these times as there will be less impact on the operation of their businesses. The proposed meetings will be held at a venue within each individual town centre to make attendance more convenient. This report has been presented to Policy and Resource Scrutiny Committee, where it was overwhelmingly supported. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 of the report, that Cabinet approve the proposal to trial an alternative model of the Town Centre Management Group for a period of 12 months, and also acknowledge that a further report outlining the trial period ends, allowing a decision to be taken at that stage on the preferred model of delivery. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Stenner. If I can go to Councillor Pritchard, please.
Thank you, Leader. And can I second this report? And can I say that this is an overdue report? As a member of the Caerphilly Town Centre Management group since 2012, since I was first elected. I certainly saw the shortcomings, if I can say that, with that group, as I imagine they were for many other groups. Councillor Sten has referred to business engagement. That is absolutely fundamental in any town centre management group. If you haven't got the buy-in from businesses, then we're not going to go very far. I like the idea of holding the meetings in every town centre and at reasonable times. That obviously is going to involve businesses. They don't have to come out of their local area to get to the council offices, and it means that they've done at better times in which they can fit around the working day. So can I strongly support, and I did note as well the comments from scrutiny. Cross-party support is always important with this kind of thing. So yeah, can I fully support the recommendations? Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Pritchard. Really helpful, and it is a refreshing report to see, in terms of the plan going forward. So it's very positive indeed. Councillor Whiting.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I don't have much to add beyond what the Deputy Leader has just said, but as the former chair of the Risk of Town Centre Management Group, I think this is overdue, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So I look forward to seeing what the trial shows. I think that it will be positive.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whiting. Councillor George.
Yes, thank you. I certainly to reinforce what the Deputy Leader just said, really. I think the old committee was starting to grow stale and it needed refreshing, so this can only be a move forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. It is important, isn't it, to stress that, the businesses the business community is the heart of every town centre, and that's what's key for us, and we've obviously got big plans in terms of our town centres going forward and how we want to regenerate them in a post-COVID recovery world. So this is really fundamental, I would say, in achieving that and having that buy-in and that collective response to the challenges that we'll face. So thank you all. It's a great report. Do any officers want to come in or comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Leader. I think the Cabinet have covered off most of the points that I would have raised had I come in earlier. I think it's just important to note that from Appendix 2, we had really positive feedback from our business partners on the industrial estates where we've trialled this. And I think it was very well received. As you'll see, we had really good positive feedback. But what was really refreshing was we were able to go into those businesses and provide them with information. So the sorts of information we provided them with were things like cybercrime, information on our regeneration plans, our town centre improvements, major regeneration schemes, and importantly, the work we are doing through our procurement process to work with local supply chains to offer up opportunities for local businesses to actually get some of our spend. And I think the same opportunities applied to town centre businesses would be a really good way forward. We only propose this as a trial because we do acknowledge all the good work that's gone on historically with the town centre management groups. And we did recognise the importance that members placed on those groups. But as you said, and Councillor Pritchard echoed, we didn't really have good representation from local businesses in those group meetings. And fundamentally, if our town centres are going to recover, it's got to come from the grassroots. So hopefully this trial will be successful, and I hope I come back in 23 with a positive report for you, but we will monitor it through the year just to ensure that that's the case. And just one other thing, just to emphasise that this initially will be the 5 principal towns. So for those of people who won't know what they are, that's Bargoed, Rysgar, Ystrad, Caerphilly and Blackwood initially. And then depending on the success of those, if we're able to secure more resources, maybe we could look to roll it out further thereafter. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Rhian. Really helpful, just to put that on. And again, it is about that engagement, isn't it? And it's about also signposting and working together, because many of the businesses will not be au fait with the work of the council in many areas. But, again, around procurement, regeneration, all of those things is so important that we connect with those communities because they're key, aren't they, for us going forward. So it is a refreshing report, as we've all said, and it's great to see that. You said, obviously, it's you'll be monitoring it throughout that 12-month period. Could I ask that you come back and give us an update in 6 months just to see how initially it's going?
Yeah, that's absolutely no problem.
Thank you. Great. OK. I don't know whether that's an additional recommendation I've added there, or is it just, by way of an update, really? Because I think it's really important that we are able to share any work that's gone on before that 12-month is out. So that'd be really helpful. Thanks, Rhian. Okay, if there are no other questions and no other comments for officers, if we can go to the vote then, Madia. That's unanimous. Thank you ever so much, everyone. And thank you, officers, for that as well. Brilliant. Thank you. Really promising to see that. OK, so the last item on the agenda is item 10, which is to receive a report about the George Street rear walls in Cwmcarn. If I can go to Councillor Cook, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. 1 to 46 George Street, Cwmcarn comprises traditional 4-bed terrace properties constructed along the contours of the valley. 30 of the houses remain in council ownership, with 16 now privately owned. The rear retaining walls of the properties are in an advanced state of structural disrepair, and Caerphilly Homes is due to undertake a retaining wall replacement programme to the council-owned properties in order to achieve compliance with WHQS. As most of these properties are currently designated as accept or fails due to timing and remedy, due to the scale and complexity of the required scheme, due to the detailing condition, it is considered these walls now need to be rebuilt as a matter of some urgency to ensure the safety of residents and the wider community, and the integrity of the housing stock. Officers have studied the defective walls, and associated steps consider that due to the design and construction of the existing structures, the programme to the 30 council-owned properties can only be achieved if the walls and steps to the 16 privately owned properties are undertaken at the same time. It is recognised that responsibility for maintenance of the private sector properties falls to the owners, and in other Caerphilly Homes planned maintenance schemes, neighbouring owners are not afforded financial assistance to repair their homes. However, there is merit in making an exception in respect of George Street due to the obligations that the council has as a landlord, and its inability to meet those landlord obligations unless the owners of the private properties are also taking part in the proposed scheme. A comprehensive reconstruction scheme has been developed, and funding has been identified for the works required for the council-owned homes. However, to encourage the necessary full participation by private owners would require the offer of financial assistance in the form of grant aid. This report therefore seeks approval to deploy private sector housing capital balances of approximately £352,000 to assist the private homeowners at George Street, Cwmcarn, by offering them 100% grant assistance with no post-completion grant conditions, to encourage them to participate in a holistic 10-year blind retaining wall replacement programme originally planned for council-owned properties, as this essential scheme will not be able to proceed without inclusion of the privately owned properties. I move.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Cook. If I can go to Councillor Whitcomb, please.
Thank you, Leader. This is a long outstanding problem in this particular area, which happens to be in my ward, and I more than welcome the recommendations laid out in 3.1 and 3.2. I therefore second the motion.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Councillor Whitcomb. Are there any comments on that? No. Okay, if we can go to the vote then, please. That's been approved, members. That's unanimous. Thank you ever so much. And if I can stop the recording there, and we'll end the meeting. And can I say thank you for obviously taking part in the minute silence, everyone. I'm sure everyone is, very much saddened by events